Hey there, and welcome back to Rival Reviews. Right off the rip, I just want to give a shout out to the Lord to Death podcast. They had me on as a guest this week, and we were over there talking about Persona, which, kind of filled the realm because Persona is very, you know, anime based, and I'm an anime podcast, so it kind of worked, and it's one of my favorite games of pretty much all time. So I had a really good time. So if you want, two of me, if you want to listen to me twice in a week, go ahead and go over to Lore to Death podcast. And me and my buddy Brett had a good time talking about Persona. Now, apart from that, let's get into this week's. So this week, on Saturday, I guess the past weekend that just happened, we had our Crunchyroll Awards. So I thought that I would go over the winners and kind of go over what my thoughts were on that. I wouldn't say that I have a crazy strong opinion about a lot of them. I do, however, have a very strong opinion about one. But what I'm going to try and do is I'll stick to the order that I kind of talked about them the last time, just, in case you want to cross-reference what I said the last time, because I'm going to be honest, I probably don't remember all of it. I do remember, obviously, the more important ones that I probably cared about, but anyway, let's get into it. So, kind of like what we stated last time, I didn't really give any thought or idea to the voice artist performances categories, just because I just felt that, like, it was really not only weird to give my opinion, but that I didn't really have an opinion. Like, if anything, I like to say that kind of like if you can be a voice actor, props to you. Because, I do this podcast once a week and I kind of feel it in like my voice and everything else, like just after doing the little bit that I do. So doing that as an actual like career definitely deserves kudos. But yeah, so kind of going to where we were before. Sorry about that. My dog decided to try to take out my table. We started out with best anime ending sequence. So again, this one didn't really surprise me. The winner was Jujutsu Kaisen season 2, which kind of made sense in the grand scheme of things, because I do remember, at least especially in the first season, everybody really really loved the first season ending. So for them to follow up strong with the second one is no surprise. Yeah, so that wasn't a surprise, but what did kind of surprise me is that not only did they win best anime ending sequence, they also won best anime opening sequence. Which is interesting, because I thought, if anything, like, I just felt like there was a lot of like more visually appealing ones, like especially for Hell, because like Hell's Paradise was one of them. And as well as Idol from Oshinokoi. So I thought both of those were really strong contenders. I even thought like Kickback by Chainsaw Man, like the whole like coverage of like the different movie aspects and everything else like that. I was so sure that it was gonna win, because it was a lot of fun to watch. But hey, I guess, what do I know? Best anime score. Again, this one, very surprising. I was pretty sure that either Oshinoko or Bocce the Rock were going to win this, because, their whole idea was that, like, it's based around music, or idol music, or even a band music. So I thought for sure that out of, like, a whole anime score that it would win. And not to say that the score for Attack on Titan wasn't cool. Like it obviously, like, I love all the music that comes from that and everything else, but to beat two animes that their primary focus is music, that is impressive. I would be interested to see, because it's funny, because, like, at the end of the day, you get these winners, and you don't really get to be there for the thought process of it all. You only get the outcome. And I feel like that's going to be a lot of arguments for a lot of these, because to try and argue, I would love to see the argument of why the score from Attack on Titan, which again was this dramatic, you know, background to a very dramatic sequence of events and everything else like that, but to solely beat literally two animes where their sole purpose is music, I would like to know the argument that was made against Bocce and Oshi to allow Attack on Titan to win. Which then kind of goes to my confusion to the next one. So when it goes to Best Anime Song, you got Idol from Oshinoko. And again, how are you going to argue that an anime that had the best anime song for the season isn't in the running for the best anime score? It just, I don't know. The 2 and 2, because I wouldn't say that they're, you know, they're completely, like, separate from one another. Like, obviously, if you're going to count one thing as the best anime song, and then you're trying to argue what the best anime score is, and it ends up being beaten, it just, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Because, again, for best anime song, I was pretty positive that Bocce or Oshi was going to win. And I guess Oshi did win. But yeah, it just goes to show, like I said, I would like to know the argument. The next one, must protect at all costs anime character. This one should be a surprise to no one that Anya won, from Spy Family. You know, she's cute, she's adorable, she's hilarious, she's innocent. She's really the whole point of us watching the whole anime or reading it in the first place. So this really isn't surprising. The only one that I thought might be able to beat her rather, was Pochita from Chainsaw Man, just because, again, the adorableness was there and everything else like that. But I do feel that Anya was definitely well deserved, so it made sense. Again, not really another surprising one. Best supporting anime character went to Gojo. Again, pretty much any time the Jujutsu Kaisen comes up in a conversation, or you see it in anything that important that happens with him, with his character development, or if he's even a part of the overarching story of that season, it is everywhere on the internet. So this isn't surprising to me at all, especially because everybody, you know, talks about that he's husbando number one, so not really too surprising there. What this one was, however, the next one, the best main anime character, I'm happy with the decision, but I am surprised. So Luffy winning best main anime character, I don't disagree by any means, but I really did not see that coming, just because of the fact that you had both Eren Yeager and Denji and Bocce from Bocce the Rock all going against them. So I thought for sure, just because of the sheer popularity of the other three, that Luffy might be overlooked. But it just goes to show that, you know, I guess he had enough of a splash. And to be fair, like, obviously in this year and everything else in this season, we got the outcome of, you know, we got to see Gear 5, and, you know, he had the really big fight with Kato going on the whole time and everything else like that throughout a good chunk of this year. So it's not surprising. And like I said, I'm happy about it. It's just, against the other ones that were against the thing, I would love to hear the conversation. And I'm glad that it swung that way. Again, not really a huge surprise here. I could have seen it going either way, and it wasn't my personal pick, but best slice of life anime went to Bocce the Rock. Again, when this came out, it was huge, and it was like kind of a sleeper for a good part of the season too. Like, so I'm not sure if any of you do this, but the myanimelist.com runs a fantasy league type of aspect with like all the users that want to play, where you can pick your team, and then every week you get points based on different merits, whether it's like, you know, people watching, people commenting, people rating, whatever it is. It's different every week, and you can make up the team. And I did not choose this one because like I said, it was a sleeper. I didn't think anything of it, and I did terribly that seasonal fantasy league because I was missing Bocce the Rock on my team. And I guess other people saw what I didn't when it got announced. I should have known, because I do know that K-On! Was also really big. So I probably should have made the assumption that this would do as what good as well, but I didn't see it, and it blew a lot of animes out of the water. Um, Again, I loved I love reading Horimiya, Insomniacs After School, My Love Story with Yamada-kun, and Skip and Loafer were all really strong, in my opinion, and I enjoyed a lot of them. I believe when I did this conversation, and if I've changed my mind since, I apologize, but if I had to choose a favorite out of these ones, it obviously would have been My Love Story with Yamada-kun at level 999, but again, that's the gamer in me, that's the RPG player in me, so you try to mix like a romance with video games and everything else, and I'm there, so it hits my niche. Maybe it doesn't hit everybody else's niche. And yeah, so like I said, it wasn't really much of a surprise because of how big this ended up blowing up. Again, not really a big surprise here. The best drama anime was Attack on Titan. The final chapters, again, for obvious reasons. I don't want to get too into it just in case you haven't seen it, because I know that, maybe you haven't had time, but if you haven't had time, I would make the time. The final chapter was insane. It was such a crazy ending to such a phenomenal anime story. The only one that I could see that maybe had an argument, but again, because of how far it didn't get into the story, Oshinoko probably didn't even have a shot, because I would argue that maybe where it is now in the manga, it could compete. But with the first, 12 episodes or whatever, or the content that you're going to get from that, not a chance. And then, again, maybe the same thing with To Your Eternity Season 2. Again, it probably fit the bill for drama, but the conclusion to this anime was just crazy. So it really was in a league of its own. So this one for Best Fantasy Anime, again, this was kind of surprising to me, but not really surprising, because it's also... Again, I've said on this anime before, I've said it on this podcast before, I don't understand the popularity of Demon Slayer. I don't. It's lost on me. It's pretty, I'll give you that. Very colorful. And the first time I watched the fights, it was cool, but then I lost all interest. But that being said, Demon Slayer, based on sheer popularity winning, I suppose I can see. But especially when it was against Jobless Reincarnation, I honestly thought that it was going to have enough popularity to go over Demon Slayer, but I guess I was sorely mistaken. Again, in my personal preference, because there was Hell's Paradise, Mashle, Jobless Reincarnation, and even The Ancient Magnus's Bride. I enjoyed all of those more than Demon Slayer, but there is something to be said about the popularity of it, so I guess you can't be too mad about it. Let's see, next up. Again, this one, not too surprising. I could make argument with other ones being winners, but Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, obviously the fight sequences in this anime are crazy. I personally thought that the fights in Chainsaw Man definitely could have won it out from Jujutsu Kaisen, because the fights in Chainsaw Man, at least in my opinion, were insane. But I don't disagree that the fights in Jujutsu Kaisen and the action and everything else wasn't there. I'm not going to argue that, because it's not accurate. But again, I could definitely argue, I feel like Chainsaw Man was really strong. Attack on Titan had crazy action at the end. One Piece, like I said before, it had all pretty much the fight with Kato and everything else like that, so I felt like that would even be strong enough. But again, I think this is another example of the popularity backing it, because I do know that Jujutsu Kaisen is huge, and it has a huge online presence and a huge fan base. So that could have been the thing that, kind of put it above everything else. But I do think there were stronger ones. But at the end of the day, I'm not mad that Jujutsu Kaisen got it. Now, going from that, the exact opposite, Mashle got snubbed so bad. I cannot believe that Best Comedy Anime went to Spy Family. Don't get me wrong. I love Spy Family. It's a great anime. It's a great manga. It is funny. in its own right, for sure. But if you're going to try and argue with me that Spy Family is funnier than Mashle, Magic, and Muscles, you're delusional. Mashle is probably the funniest anime I've seen ever, like, period. And I feel like the mixture of the fantasy meets comedy is just mwah. It's done so well that when I first reviewed this after knowing that I was going to do this episode and everything else, this was probably I cannot fathom this. And I don't know, am I crazy? Tell me if I'm crazy. But personally, for me, like, there isn't an episode of Mashle that doesn't not make me laugh. Like, I'm constantly thinking that it's hilarious, like, from start to finish. For Spy Family, like, again, it's entertaining, but it's like entertaining in like a cute way, where like I find Mashle is funny in a comedy way, like in a ridiculous, like, you have to laugh because of how ridiculous it is. Where like Spy Family, you laugh because kind of more sort of like the silly thing that Anya did. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, in my opinion, like, the comedy between these two are just so vastly different, and I just felt that Mashle was just such a shoo-in for this one that I am so surprised. So if I took away anything from this, because obviously we're going to go more into a couple different ones, but I would say out of anything, Mashle 100% got snubbed this year. And I will take that point to the grave. Like I will fight it to death, because it deserved, at the very least, this win. Whew, okay. Now that I've calmed down a bit. Best romance anime. Again, so it went to Horimiya, The Missing Pieces. I feel like this could have gone with, honestly, any of them. Like, you could have given it to Insomniacs, Happy Marriage, My Love Story, Skipper Loafer, and Toma-chan as a girl, and I would have been like, yep, it's a good romance. Because all of them were, at least in my opinion, I felt that this year, a lot of the romance ones were ones that not only that I had read and was caught up with the source material, but like were also all really strong, like in their own rights. Like, I thought that they were all really good stories. So I'm not really unhappy with this one or happy with this one. I would honestly have been happy with any of them. So again, this one, not too surprising. Probably could have made an argument with other ones. Best art direction went to Demon Slayer. Like I said previously when it came up before, it is pretty. I can't fight that. It just is. I did think that, at least creativity wise and everything else like that, I would say that both Hell's Paradise and Zom 100 were both prettier. And I felt like there was a lot more, like, if I had to define art, I would have given it to Hell's Paradise. Just the creativity and the character designs and the coloring, like the vibrant colors of the fights and everything else like that, and the texturization of certain things, like, I just felt like it came off a lot stronger. Where Demon Slayer, I feel like it always looks the same. Like it's not like it's like raising the bar. It's just, it's had its bar and it's just rode it the whole time. So I feel like I could have made the argument that Hell's Paradise was definitely stronger, but again, not to argue with the fact that Demon Slayer is pretty. I can't argue with that. And then, again, the other interesting part that I found about this is that Demon Slayer was in the best cinematography, like, nominee list. And then, I don't know, again, this could just be because my understanding is different, but in my opinion, when you're talking about the art direction and the cinematography with anime, like I find like cinematography and art direction, if you're talking like a live action, like something or other, they can be vastly different. But like cinematography and art direction, I feel like they have to go hand in hand. So for it to go to one and not the other, which was very interesting to me, again, telling me that the winner of best cinematography is Jujutsu Kaisen is not surprising. Like, I don't have a problem with that. And again, in all honesty, I would agree with probably all of them in the nominee list. Like Attack on Titan, Chainsaw Man, Demon Slayer is always pretty. Heavenly Delusion was also really pretty. Jujutsu Kaisen obviously had really bold coloring. Vinland Saga, obviously, especially like the background designs and everything else in Vinland is crazy. So none of that is really surprising. Again, I didn't really have too much of an opinion on Best Director. Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 won this one as well. So, again, it was a really strong anime. I guess there is something that you can say that it is the only one that was actually a sequel, like a Season 2, and it won. So I guess that does say something, because it beat a whole bunch of other ones that were like either their own one-offs, like the chapter 1 of the final season, or all new animes for the season. So I guess there is something to be said about that. Next one is best character design. So this went to Jujutsu Kaisen as well. Man, Jujutsu Kaisen really just won everything, didn't they? It's not surprising. It was a really strong season. Again, I would argue the same thing with the character design. I felt that Hell's Paradise personally should have won kind of like all the design categories because of the way that it looked. And like, I find that, like, again, like Jujutsu Kaisen, like you're drawing anime characters, and again, like the fight scenes and everything else are crazy and everything else, but that's not about the character design, in my opinion. Especially the character design with like all of the different things on the island and everything else like that. I thought Hell's Paradise was going to be a shoo-in. So that is a little surprising. Best animation, again, this isn't really surprising. Demon Slayer won. It was pretty. Can't really fight it. Honestly, Jujutsu Kaisen is in there. Could have also won because it was pretty. Attack on Titan, it was also crazy good looking. I thought Chainsaw Man was well animated. Yeah, I feel as if like any of them could have won and it would have been like, yeah, that's fine. Um, Best original anime. This went to Buddy Dies. This isn't surprising. This is the only one that I found that really, out of all of them, well, this was the only one that I actually watched out of all these ones. So you had like Maid War, Birdie Wing, Do It Yourself, yeah, Mobile Suit Gundam, Marginal Service, yeah. So like Buddy Dies was the only one that I actually saw, and the only one that I actually kind of heard any like actual love about. Like everything else, I after it was announced, I never really heard about it again. So this isn't really a surprise to me. Next one, we got the best anime film. Again, Suzumi won this. Not really surprising. I thought Black Clover might have more of a chance. Same with the Kaguya-sama Love is War one, because they were both really popular. But I will also say that Suzumi, I think, deserved it probably out of the most of all of them, because all of them weren't based. All the rest of them were based on like an anime that's already kind of like laid the foundation, where Suzumi was actually like its own story to anime film. Like very similarly to like, you know, like if you're talking about like a Studio Ghibli kind of film. It's not by Studio Ghibli, but like that kind of realm of thinking. So yeah, so that's not surprising to me at all. Again, this one I was happy about because I actually 100% agree with it. So the best new anime series went to Chainsaw Man. Personally, I think well deserved. Again, I enjoyed quite a lot of the entries on the nominee list, but by far Chainsaw Man out of the options was by far, I think, not only the one that blew up the most, the one that had the most popularity, but also had the it had a lot of popularity going in, obviously because of the source material. but it came out with a bang and it went strong for the whole run of it. And it's actually still kind of surprising to me that we haven't heard about a second season. So maybe I'm hoping because it won this that it might get more shout out, and hopefully maybe there will be more of a talk of season 2. That would be really cool. This one I was actually very surprised about, but happy about. That One Piece actually did win the best continuing anime series. Again, in my mind, because of how long it's been going for, it absolutely deserves to win this. I am, however, completely surprised that it didn't get beaten out by, Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer, or Attack on Titan. Those are 3 really big titles, and for One Piece to... It just goes to show, like, the respect that this anime gets because it was able to beat 3 of those really big titles for the best continuing series. Yeah, so I definitely was very happy to see that when it happened. And then, of course, probably no surprise to, everything else that you've heard about this list. Anime of the Year for 2024, Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. Again, especially, I'm not really surprised. I'm still a little confused as to why Free Ren isn't a nominee for anything. The only thing that I can assume is because it's still going and it ran through the beginning of 2024, that because it's probably going to conclude in 2024, that it'll be up for the 2025, so next year's awards. If it is overlooked, that makes 0 sense to me, but I have a feeling that is the thought process that they're going with. I guess the takeaways that to kind of, I guess, put a bow on this is Jujutsu Kaisen killed it this year. Like I said, I think there's an argument to be made that if, you did put Free Ren into a lot of these categories, that maybe it wouldn't have done as well. But it pretty much took, it definitely took the vast majority. How many are we looking at? We're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you got 5. Oh, sorry, 6, 7. So 7 of the actual awards, and then it had Gojo as the best secondary character, supporting character. So, and even looking down, even though I wasn't going to talk about it, it looks like he won, that character themselves won about 3 of the voice actor awards as well. So take that with what you will, but at the end of the day, they killed it, and they definitely got the vast majority. And like I said, if you're going to take anything from what I said this time, please wish for Mashle to get the respect it deserves, because it got snubbed so bad. And there you have it. That puts a close down on the Crunchyroll Awards of 2024. Let me know what you think. What did you guys think of the winners? Do you guys have any opinions? Do you think, for whatever reason, that Mashle shouldn't have won the Comedy Award? If you did, you're wrong, but you can let me know. Rival X Reviews on all your social medias. Please rate and review if you can, and please share. That helps us get out there. Again, like I already said before, check out Lord to Death podcast. I'm on there talking about Persona, and I'm sure my buddy Brett would appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.